Ball rolling. Welcome, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to the very first Interchange webinar. So since it's our first webinar, we're going to be covering some helpful energy-saving tips in our after-hours energy treasure hunting. And your webinar today is presented by Mike Menzel and Matt Hoyland. I'm Matt. I'm a sustainability specialist and outreach coordinator for Interchange. Been here since April and really loving the mission so far. And presenting along with my colleague, Mike Menzel.
Thanks, Matt. This is Mike Menzel. I'm the Interchange Program Manager, Delivery Partner. I've been working in the energy efficiency industry since 1997 for organizations throughout North America. And I'm really excited to be presenting this to you today as the cheapest energy is that which you don't use. And this seminar will absolutely cover the easiest way to drive savings, low cost, no cost opportunities. So looking forward to it, Matt. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mike. Taking a look at the agenda and topics for today, we're going to walk you through how to conduct an after-hours treasure hunt, and then we'll allow some time for some Q&A. During the webinar, participants will be muted to avoid disturbance, and questions can be sent via the meeting chat function. So without further ado, let's get started. So what is an after-hours energy treasure assessment? An after-hours energy treasure assessment is a purposeful walkthrough of your facilities conducting an after-hours energy check of the site. And this can be done during evenings, nighttime, mornings, weekends, anytime the space is vacant. And it's performed to spot potential wasted energy. And it can be performed anytime the facility is unoccupied. You may be asking yourself, why am I doing this? A night and weekend after-hours energy audit is without a doubt the least expensive way to drive energy savings. And how much can you save? A study by Intelligent Energy Europe identified an average of 10% energy savings during these night walks. The savings are achieved with no to minimal capital investment, with a return on investment in fewer than 3 years. And it's realized primarily with behavior changes, changes in routines, and simple awareness by staff and management. There's two phases of a simple assessment. It's going to be a visual inspection, where you look for obvious, wasteful, and unnecessary energy use. You want to work with your staff to inform and modify that wasteful use and change that behavior to drive those savings. Then there's a systems inspection, and this is going to require someone with a little more sophistication and authorization that can review schedules that are programmed throughout the building, so your building automation system, thermostats, and time clocks.
Matt, why don't I take the visual inspection part here, and I'm going to walk you guys through a proven way to conduct the actual visual inspection. So this is really literally going to be walking in all spaces of the facility, in and out, from the parking lot to the boiler room, basically. And you're going to want to, depending on the size of your building, potentially put a small team together. One of the reasons a team approach is helpful is you're getting more individuals engaged in the process, vested in the process. So a little team does really help out in this. You're going to want to plan ahead. You're going to provide each of the participants that are conducting the audit with some very specific direction. You're going to define what everyone's looking for. Having a floor plan, the typically, fire escape emergency plan, something like that each individual can write on and allow you to divvy up all the areas of the space. You're going to want to agree upon some abbreviations to note right on that floor plan, and we'll cover some examples of that here momentarily. At that point, you're going to have the team go off and walk the building, make notes. Upon the conclusion of their walk in their area, they're going to come back and turn those plans with the notes back to the team lead, and then you're going to compile those results. And when it's all said and done, you're going to probably have a bunch of information that is realizing certain things are left on, and you can try to help inform and educate your staff, employees, and others about how to reduce those, turn things off, and such. So that's the general list. let's actually look at a plan of action here. There's an organization here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. They have 3 office buildings at the time we did this. Fairly big office buildings. So we had a team of about 8 individuals that we were able to divvy up the various floor plans. And before we actually left, we kind of talked through what everyone was going to be looking for, and we determined a game plan that if you have a computer, or if you see a computer on, I should say, you're going to put a C on the space. And if you have a monitor that was actually on, you might, actually in the save mode, we just did an M. But if the monitor was actually on, we did some brackets or a circle around that to show that the monitor was on. We used T for task lights, H for heater, which was really an individual space heater that was under one's desk. Those things are really fairly significant energy hogs, so space heaters are definitely something to keep an eye out for. If the general lighting was on, we used the L. We saw refrigerators, used the F in that case. Coffee pots, also coffee pots on are pretty significant energy consumers. Printers, we used a P, and multifunctional devices or copiers, we used a D. You'll kind of note that I don't actually have HVAC related items on this list. And the reason that was the case in this particular example is they actually had an individual that was sort of the dedicated HVAC. I'm going to go around and look at thermostats. I'm going to use an infrared gun and actually check, the vents, the radiation, heaters, etc. So my point being that is if you're going to include some of the HVAC, you'll want to add a couple of those abbreviations. Anyhow, so the visual inspection process, super effective. As you're entering that space, don't turn the lights on, obviously, right away. You want to be able to observe and note what lighting is on. In some cases, there's emergency or egress lighting that is required. Certainly understand you can't do anything about that, but you're walking into the space, observing the lighting. First thing you want to do is listen. Stand still, listen. Try to hear what is on. You want these places dark and quiet, basically, at these times. So if you can listen for the equipment, it'll help you figure out where. Be observant to the temperature. Does the space feel overly comfortable? Obviously, we don't need to be overly comfortable when the space is in off hours. So you're going to end up doing these treasure hunts seasonal. Once a winter, once a summer are certainly appropriate at minimum. So obviously the space temperature is going to be an item that you can observe. Remind you about vestibules and entrances. When you come into a space, oftentimes there's the double doors and you've got a vestibule electric heater. Very commonly forgotten about or unnecessarily overly warm. So keep an eye out and don't forget about them. Obviously, you're trying to capture things that are left on. So being able to have the lights off and using a flashlight in some cases is actually more effective because you can actually see a lot of the LED lights that turn on or show up when you're walking the facility. I talked a little bit about the infrared temperature gun. It certainly can help determine temperature in spaces that are still being in heating or cooling mode. But that kind of summarizes the visual inspection process. Like I said, super effective way to find things that are on that don't have to be. Matt, why don't you talk about the systems inspection, please?
Sounds good. So the systems inspection, that may require someone with sophistication and authorization to review schedules that are programmed throughout the building. And one thing we want to really hammer home is don't assume that your schedules and set points are accurate. And we have a case study later on that'll demonstrate why this is important. But when you're looking at your thermostats, is it a programmable version that can be set? Is it in manual mode? And are the schedules and setback temps programmed? Your building automation system, carefully review your program schedules and your time clocks. Are any lights, kitchen equipment, or other items controlled by a time clock? And is it operable and programmed properly? It's helpful to have a little bit of a checklist, some helpful hints to start your own night energy assessment, and just for some general maintenance tips as well. Here's some monthly maintenance checks and annual tune-up suggestions. You want to clean or replace your air filters twice a year as suggested. Why do you want to do that? Running your HVAC systems with clean air filters can reduce energy consumption by about 15%. Check for drafts, open windows, doors, other places where leakage can occur. Check those thermostat settings. Inspect your duct system for damage and excessive leaks. You want to ensure your fresh air economy setting is drawing air at the appropriate times. And you can inspect fan blades to determine wear and damage. And we're going to take a look at a case study here. This particular client was a church that had a small school, and they insisted during an energy interview that the gym's HVAC system was programmed properly. Kind of swore up and down that no, everything was right, everything was programmed properly, and nonetheless we went ahead and did the review, and the review of the building automation system found opportunities for adjustments, and by optimizing controls and settings, the organization was able to significantly reduce their energy use. And then Mike, did you want to talk a little bit here about the assessment and when it occurred and the savings that were generated?
Yeah, absolutely. When we were in this facility, we were there in the green line, roughly July of 2015, where the arrow's pointing, and prior to that, you kind of see the blue, the red, and the green generally on the same pattern of consumption. Call it somewhere between the 32,000 to 40,000 kWh a month. Then we got that gym programmed properly, and we started seeing the reduction. The green line continues going down there into August and September and on, and you can see that the program has stuck and maintained it for the year and a half afterwards that we actually tracked it, and have a new baseline running typically between 25 and 30,000 kWh. So it's a very visual way to see how much electricity ended up being saved as a result of that timing and settings being accurately modified.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. So the results of the case study here and the impact summary, the pre-assessment energy use was about 428,000 kilowatt hours. The post-assessment energy use dropped to 337,200 kilowatt hours, the result being a 21.2% reduction and a savings of over $10,000. So a really not insignificant amount of savings there. So what were the actions that were taken? Building automation schedule was reviewed and determined it was in an override manual mode and running 24/7, so obviously sucking a ton of energy out there. And as a result of just 15 minutes of operational changes yielded over $10,000 in electricity savings alone, plus some additional gas savings. And we call that a treasure hunt win. So the point being here is that while the level of success and savings will vary since buildings are not all the same, you will generate savings by performing these. If you take the action, it will pay off.
And I said it before, but it is probably helpful to remember to really conduct one of these at least twice a year. Seasonality will certainly be appropriate, but you can't go wrong by investing a few amount of minutes and hours to try to drive the savings.
Yeah, it's hard to think of any other opportunities where you could take 15 minutes and save over 10 grand. Pretty impressive. Just a reminder of what we do here at Interchange. Our whole reason for being is to help nonprofits save money by saving energy. So have you implemented any projects, or are you in the planning stages? Remember that Interchange is here to help guide you through your project, and we'll help answer any questions, complete rebate paperwork, and provide support through implementation. And my contact information is there if you'd like to get a hold of me and set up an audit or have any questions about anything, some things you're thinking about doing, you want to check and see what you've implemented and want to reaffirm your savings, get in touch with me and we can certainly work with you for that. And if you want to learn more, here's a little additional information from just a reminder of the services that we do. We will provide an on-site walkthrough with a total building review, checking your HVAC, lighting, etc. We'll write a prescription for you, some good, better, best options. We'll help you make the most out of your rebates based on what utility program works for you. We'll help calculate payback and identify some financing options. And implement. We'll guide you all the way through completion, and we'll even hang on, making sure that everything is implemented, worked right through our reporting, tracking, and updating, progress updates, and high usage alerts. It's very simple. We'll take a look at your energy usage in your facility, do a little homework, and come back to you with some expense-saving action recommendations and a clear idea of potential savings for doing the right things. Even help you find financing to get the job done. And just a reminder, these are all delivered at no cost for Minnesota nonprofits in Xcel Energy and CenterPoint Energy territories.
Nice work, Matt. Just a reminder to everyone out there as we kind of close it up and such, that if you need some help with actually trying to conduct your first assessment, you just don't quite feel comfortable, reach out to Matt and the interchange staff, and we'll certainly help roll up the sleeves and work with you on that. So nice job, Matt, and really pleased that everyone was able to join us, and we look forward to hearing from you.
We get any questions in the Q&A in the chat box? I don't see any.
I was looking for that. There aren't any, so we'll go ahead and call this session over.
Thanks for joining us today, everybody, and have a great rest of your week. Reach out if you have any questions. Thanks so much.
Take care.